Jim Wallace from the Gun Owners Action League. There it is. Up in Massachusetts joins us. How you doing, Jim?
Well, I'd say welcome back to the Second Amendment Battleground State, but I think I just went back to junior high with the bumper music there.
I know, and with that long of an intro, we've been in the Second Amendment Battleground State for a little while anyway.
Yeah, I was starting to take a little nap there, but that's okay.
Hey, listen, I'm glad you could come on the program tonight. A lot of interesting things going on in Massachusetts to talk about, including a story about, and I guess we should be surprised by this. We've seen similar stories from all over the country, but gun sales and gun ownership is up in Massachusetts right now.
No, can't be. Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny because we've had a lot of calls the last 2 or 3 days from several people doing stories about this, that they're astonished that gun sales are up in Massachusetts. And, well, you know, gun licenses are actually starting to slowly curve back up after a 12-year drought, I guess. You know, we went from 1.5 million licensed gun owners back in 1998 to about 230,000 just a year or so ago, and they're starting to come back up, and a lot of that is kind of the I guess our generation, Cam, is starting to actually get back into gun ownership, and you know, a lot of the programs that the NRA and Gun Owners Action League are doing, along with Women on Target and so forth. People are really getting back into the shooting sports, not just for self-defense, but getting back into the sporting aspect of it as well.
Yeah, I think that you're right. By the way, Jim, it's primary night, and I do want to let people know that I think everybody, all of the major networks now, including the cable networks, have called Wisconsin for Mitt Romney. 16% of the precincts are in right now. Romney 41, Santorum 39. A raw vote difference between the two candidates of about 1,500 votes, 33,221 for Mitt Romney, 31,768 for Rick Santorum. Ron Paul's at 11%. Newt Gingrich is at 6%. But virtually all of the networks have now called Wisconsin for Mitt Romney tonight, giving him a sweep of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Wisconsin. So we'll still give you some updates throughout the evening as far as the raw vote totals, but it looks like Mitt Romney is sweeping tonight's primary. So there you go. Now, all right, sorry about that, Jim.
No, that's fine. You know, we got to hear that stuff. Is it still legal to carry a concealed ballot in Washington, D.C.?
You know what? I don't really think they care too much about what you do with your ballots in Washington, D.C.
All right. I just wanted to make sure, because I know in Boston, I think they're in 13 different languages now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's quite something else. But
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you know, but again, Massachusetts is sort of a amazing place sometimes, Jim. You know, we've talked about the gun laws in Massachusetts and how Byzantine they are, and if you call up the state attorney general's office and you ask for help, and you ask, can you explain this gun law? They'll say, no, you got to hire an attorney. We can't tell you what the gun laws are in this state.
That's because they actually can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So I thought this was fascinating. A police officer in Framingham, Mass, cannot legally own a gun because of offenses that happened to him as a juvenile. His record was sealed as a juvenile, but now there are changes to state law, and these records are now opened up. He's 43 years old. He's a 16-year veteran of the Framingham Police Department. He is not allowed to legally own a gun, but he is allowed to carry one on the job.
Yes, under Massachusetts law, and forgive me, I can't cite the chapter and section, but under Massachusetts law, even if you are disqualified as a so-called citizen from your Second Amendment rights, you can still carry a gun on the job. Now, most police chiefs won't allow that to happen because of liability issues. Because, you know, God forbid, as a law enforcement officer, if you ever had to engage somebody with a firearm and that person, hired an attorney and brought it to court, and they said, well, wait a minute, you're not even qualified. You couldn't even own a firearm as a citizen. Why are you allowed, so forth, and it goes down the line. But so it gets rather complicated in the legal world for that. So, but it is the truth. You can actually carry as an officer even if you're disqualified in Massachusetts. And part of the problem, too, is even if you are qualified as a citizen and you can carry as an officer, there are now a lot of problems with the so-called high-capacity laws in Massachusetts because of the Deval-Patrick administration has put out a letter to all law enforcement agencies about the so-called exemptions for high capacity and assault weapons, that basically everything they said in the letter was factually incorrect. But, don't let the truth get in the way of a good letter or anything else for that matter. So now law enforcement officers are very concerned about what they can and can't own on or off the job, and it's very actually complicated in Massachusetts. Can you imagine that, Cam? It's complicated here in Massachusetts.
Well,
as to what you can and can't own. So, we are trying to kind of wade through some of this stuff, but, truthfully, Cam, with this administration, there is no fixing anything while this governor is still in place.
Well, I mean, I was just about to bring that up. I saw that you all tweeted earlier today, day 1916 of the Governor Patrick appointment wait. Governor Romney would always meet with us. What's the problem, Governor Patrick? When did you request a meeting between the governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, and the Gun Owners Action League?
Well, going back to when he was first elected as governor, which was, 5.5 years ago or something like that?
2006.
I waited and gave them time. Every governor needs time to get their staff in place and get their offices all straightened out. And so I waited until April, and being in the State House all the time, I went into the governor's legislative office and introduced myself, and I handed the young lady who was in charge of the office my card and said I'd love to sit down with a governor or his staff and explain the Massachusetts laws and what we need to fix and so forth. The only time in my career, Cam, I've had my business card handed back to me and said,
really?
We have nothing to talk about. And ever since then, I've seen the governor several times, and I've offered, and so has the NRA when he's been down in Washington, D.C., and Chris Cox and Wayne LaPierre have said, geez, we'd love to sit down, and we'd love to talk to you, and so forth. And as a matter of fact, just before Thanksgiving of last year, there was a Judiciary Committee hearing, and the governor was actually chiding lawful gun owners for not getting behind his crime bill, and if they only understood what his policies really were, they would be behind this. So I waited for the governor to leave the judiciary hearing and go out into the hallway, which I knew he would with his entourage, and get in front of the cameras and start talking about his bill. And while the cameras were rolling, I went up to the governor and just introduced myself, Governor Jim Wallace from Governor's Action League, handed my card and said, Governor, be glad to meet with you, be glad to understand your policies. If you'd be glad to understand ours, I've been trying to meet with you for 5 years. Just give me a call anytime.
And nothing happened, huh?
And nothing happened, so... it's always amazing.
No kidding.
But, I'll tell you what, one thing we are looking forward to is St. Louis. Can't wait to get down there and see all the members of the NRA and see you guys again. And I'm looking forward to the opening show. Hopefully we're going to do that again with the Coalition of the Oppressed.
I believe that we have already scheduled you all for Thursday night, so yes.
That'll be phenomenal. Now I give you a little tidbit here, Cam. This is just for your listeners because nobody's heard this yet.
Okay.
The Gun Owners Action League last Friday actually signed a lease in Massachusetts for another facility, not just a new facility, but another facility, because the training requests in Massachusetts are just so broad we can't even handle them, so that the Goal Foundation, which is our sister organization, is going to maintain the building that they're in now to handle the youth programs, and we're actually going to go to another new facility for Goal, and Goal will handle the adult training programs as well as our lobbying organization. So Goal is actually growing in leaps and bounds.
That is fantastic. Jim, congratulations, sir. And I will see you in St. Louis, Missouri next week.
Well, look forward to it. It's always a good time. It's always great to see all the NRA people. And for me, this is recharge the batteries time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming on the program tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Cam. Thanks a lot.